Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Devotions today. Hope you're in for a fantastic day. We're talking about what it means to stand in the gap. According to Ezekiel 22, God's looking for those people. But as we study what a gap stander innerer looks like, we realize that there are some things and some criteria and some training that these people have to go through before they qualify to stand in the gap. We spoke, first of all, about solitude. We spoke about the fact that God speaks to us at the point of solitude. I want to talk to you today about God speaking to us at the point of silence. Well, they kind of go hand in hand. Generally, when you're alone, it's reasonably quite quiet. But silence is a great minister that God uses to speak to us and to shape us to who He wants us to be. You know, these people that hear from God every 5 minutes, I'm always a little nervous about that because there are times, I've got to tell you, where God just speaks in the silence. Doesn't say a word, just His presence and just the blessing of His Holy Spirit is all. It's just you and God. Nobody's talking, but everybody is listening. It's in this silence that God is really able to shape us to what He wants us to be. Sometimes we just got to learn to be quiet. Matthew chapter 17 is a great lesson for us here. Here they are, Peter, James, and John, with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus has chosen his inner circle of three. He's taken them up the mountain, and as he's up on the top of this beautiful mountain, suddenly he is transfigured before him, and he shone like the sun. And Moses and Elijah join him on top of the mountain. And Peter is standing there with eyes like saucers, and he's totally overwhelmed by the things that are going on. And he doesn't know what to do, and so he does the stupid thing. He says something. Instead of just reveling in the moment, just standing there in awe of Jesus transfigured, the presence of Moses and Elijah would have been awesome, but Jesus was just incredible that particular day. Anyway, here's Peter. So he says to Jesus, he says, "Hey, Jesus, I've got an idea. I've got an idea, Jesus. What I'll do is I'll build a few little booths so you and Moses and Elijah don't get cold at night, and so we can spend the night here, Jesus, and I can build you each a little house." I take my hat off to Peter because I just know I would have done exactly the same thing. Here he is, just mouthing it off. And God's voice came out of heaven and said, "Hey, be quiet and just listen to Jesus." You know, people, sometimes, talk to myself, we talk too much. We talk far too much. Sometimes in the ministry of silence, in the place of silence, when there's no distractions and all we have is Jesus, that's a great place to be. And people who have learned and have stood in the gap for God, just go read the Bible and you see every gap stander innerer has had to go through that period of time of solitude and silence before God chooses them and takes them out of the ranks of the ordinary to be people who will stand in the gap for Him. Maybe today, as you look into your own life, maybe you need to look and say, well, you know what, I need to just be quiet before God and allow God just to speak into my soul and into my spirit. It's a great place in silence to discern problems. I have a friend. His name is Ken Shipley. Hey, Ken, how's it? He's an outstanding mechanic. This guy knows how to fix jolly motor cars, man. And I think it was one day I was visiting him down at his garage, or there was an occasion where we were standing by a car that was not doing well. And the car's broken, and the engine is kind of running, but it sounds really awful. And so I was standing and I'm watching Ken, and I said, "Ken, when are you going to fix the car? Can't you just fix this darn thing?" And Ken says, "I am fixing it, bonehead. I am fixing this thing. Just be quiet." And I said, "Well, what's being quiet going to do over here?" He says, "In the quietness of just standing, listening, I can discern the problem. I can tell whether the tappets are not running right, or whether the valves are stuck, or whether it needs a new exhaust pipe, or I don't know, whatever they do." But he says, in the silence of just standing, listening to the engine, he could tell what the problem was. People, maybe we need to do the same thing. We're always trying to run around, fix things, talk too much. We get ourselves into a lot of problems when we do that. Let's stand still in the presence of God, in solitude sometimes, and just listen for the voice of God to speak. Let's do what God told Peter to. Peter, just be quiet. Peter, shh. Peter, just be quiet and just listen to Jesus. Peter, don't say a word. I know it's cool and it's impressive, but Peter, just shut up and listen. Maybe that's what we need to do today. Okay, people, let's do that. Have a good day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.